graveyard, which can then come back, and then he has some shadow games, send beast to the graveyard, flip up the Falco, get back the beast. So he can make some plays off of that. Ruben, we do have another Burning Abyss deck still in the top 4.
I was surprised to see that as well. So Ruben is kicking things off instead of Marcello. This is his hand. He also had a Foolish Burial, which he activated right away, triggering the effect of his Burning Abyss monster. And pretty good opening for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like he can just. That seems pretty reasonable for him.
There's the Upstart Goblin card we have been talking about a little bit earlier. Interesting thing is, it doesn't do much. It just says draw 1 card, your opponent gains 1,000 life points. The interesting thing that we have been talking about earlier was, when do you activate it exactly? In most of the cases, you first want to thin out your deck with an effect like Mathematician or with Foolish Burial, and then after you did that, you want to draw the card.
Yep, and it we see that being played differently as well. We saw it, for example, when I believe it was also Ruben earlier. Forgive me if that's incorrect. Who played it the opposite way around, where it was like, I want to have a Burning Abyss monster in my hand, so I want to play this before I tour guide, so I have the discard outlet that he wanted.
Yes. So he always thinking first before committing to that play.
Yeah, because both of these decks, Shaddoll and Burning Abyss, can get really, really complicated really, really fast, and you need to think through exactly how the turn is going to play out before you commit to it. At the same time, you can't take all the time in the world for that.
Right, so here we see the last 2 cards in hand for Ruben, and play is now back to, or not back, for the first time up to Marcello, the luckiest player in the tournament, something we said earlier, because he was 33rd after the after the Swiss portion of the event concluded, so that would have locked him out of the top 32 for understandable reasons if you're familiar with how numbers are working. However, there was one player who got knocked out of the top 32 because there was a match result entered erroneously. And after that, everybody after him moved 1 space up, and Marcello suddenly in the 32nd spot, going up against Patrick Reeder, the only undefeated player in the tournament. And well, Curse of Anubis, he just lost right there and then got knocked out.
Yep, I really want Barberi to win, because that would be quite a story for him. And we can actually get him a shirt saying, luckiest duelist here. You can wear that to Milan if he decides to go.
All right, so here you can see that Marcello just set all of his cards, or half his cards that he had in his hand. He's now got Sinister Shadow Games, Face Down, Shadow Core, and Burst Rebirth. Back to Ruben, who did draw into Skarm, I think. Did he?
Yes. Okay, so Vanity's Fiend is going to cause a couple of problems here.
Yeah, Vanity's Fiend, a card we've been talking about quite a few times. At the moment, it doesn't seem to be showing up for you guys.
It's unfortunately one of those old ones we haven't quite. It's one of the ones that we've missed. It's one of the old ones. I do apologize for that.
So Vanity's Fiend, basically more or less the same effect as Vanity's Emptiness.
Yes, except one has 2,400 attack and will beat you to death. I want to remember almost a famous UK player from way back when, Duncan Tang, used the same analogy when discussing the difference between Jinzo and Royal Decree, because I've never lost to 2,400 direct attacks from Royal Decree. That was like the quote he was remembered for when people were having this big argument, and that just kind of like ended it right there when people were like, yeah, maybe Jinzo's better.
Yeah, maybe you do have a point, yeah. Although it takes a normal summon, which is a big deal in this fast-paced environment.
And it gets breakthrough skill, which is something that doesn't happen to your Vanity's Emptiness. So maybe there's more to that discussion than simply one hits you, the other one doesn't.
Right. So here we have Marcello's hand. It's got a super polymerization, compulsory evacuation device, which is not going to stay in his hand for long because that's where it doesn't do much. And Shaddoll Beast, Shaddoll Fusion, and Artifact Moraltach. Okay, we're going to see a Sinister Shadow Games flipped. As long as that Vanity's Fiend's in play, we're not going to see a Shaddoll Falco play. Okay, Shaddoll Dragon being added to Marcello's hand. That dragon, when it's flipped, can return a monster on the field back to its owner's hand, so it would be able to deal with the Vanity's Fiend. The compulsory evacuation is also another very solid answer. Unfortunately, both of these strategies require Marcello to pass a turn before he can get the most out of this. Right, so there you can see that Marcello's field has been improved quite a bit with more cards than before, of course. But Ruben just drawn into one of the cards that made all the difference in the match that we had him on earlier. It was indeed against Rafael Neven from the Netherlands, with those crucial trap stuns and Vanity's emptiness, always shutting down Rafael's options at the very best of times.
Yes, being able to, he answered efficiently 3 artifact sanctums, which is just unbelievable, considering that you normally have to jump through hoops to deal with that card without, in some way, getting punished by it. Okay, so how does Marcello respond to this? He's
got the Dante and the Vanity's Fiend on the field, and this is his hand. And you were asking about Marcello, right?
Yeah, because he's got the compulsory evacuation and the dragon. I mean, so he can get rid of both of these monsters. The question is, how does he decide to do this?
Yeah, quite a few options here, and that's definitely one of the things we encourage you guys to do. To do when you're watching the stream, try to figure out what's going to be the next move of the player, because you can learn so much watching these guys, but you can learn even more trying to telegraph their moves.
Yeah, and then next time when you see somebody sort of starting to go through the same sequence, you'll be like, hold on, deja vu. I know how this works.
Yeah. Or if you are wrong, you will know for sure that you're wrong. Yesterday I had this discussion after day 1 where we had some questionable moves like a bottomless trap hole being used against Winder. I had a discussion in between rounds, and Patrick Reeder, well, didn't make it to the top 16. However, he was the only undefeated player after Swiss. And he said, when the first time I played against Shaddolls, I was also trying torrential tribute on Winder.
Yeah, because it's just, people overlook it.
The big difference was he didn't do that at one of the largest events of the year.
Yeah.
He did that in his home when he was testing and preparing for one of these events, so he would avoid making that very same mistake when it counts the most, which is right here at this table in our feature match. So Marcello using Burst Rebirth, very hefty investment, 2,000 life points, but for that he gets a monster back from his graveyard and he special summons it in face down defense position. Now, if you've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! 3 years ago, you might be wondering, why would I want to do that? I want to have it in attack position so I can attack with it or something like that. However, all of these Shaddoll monsters have flip effects, and half of them are pretty strong.
Yep, Shaddoll Beast being excellent because it gets the card filtering and lets Marcello start getting through his deck, searching for those hyper-powerful cards like Super Polymerization or Blackluster Soldier, or even just his Shaddoll fusions if he hasn't already gotten to them.
Yep, so you can always get rid of the worst card in your hand and make sure that you're improving your odds. In this case, it was, at least according to Marcello, it was an Artifact Moraltach that he didn't really feel like I have much use for this, so he simply discarded it after drawing 2. So there's the Allure of Darkness that allows him to draw into yet more cards. The other cards in his hand, as you can see on the right-hand side, yeah, lots of disruption here with the Trap Stun, and something to come back with Shaddoll Fusion. So now he's drawn into Felice and Shaddoll Hedgehog.
The Felice he can't normal summon a set, so that's just probably going to end up being fusion fodder a little bit later.
Right. And now he's going for Shaddoll Core.
Yep. Shaddoll Core, very good as can attack as a monster, can defend as a monster, and can also count as any attribute for a fusion summon.
Yep. And it's one of those cards that we only see every once in a while. It's not a so-called staple card in the Shaddoll archetype. It's something that players are still pondering over. Sometimes they run 1, sometimes they run 0 copies. I don't think I've seen more than 1 copy yet.
No, I've not seen more than 1 copy. One of the strengths is you can send it straight from the deck to the graveyard as it's a Shaddoll card with Construct, and then it activates and lets you get back your fusion immediately. But you don't see Core activated too much unless it's going to be using for a defense or pushing through the last bit of damage, because as a monster, it's not. You're not playing the card because it's a monster. That's just an added benefit to the card.
Yes, so here we go. Marcello, no surprise here, goes for his boss monster El Shaddoll Construct. And this way he was able to get rid of his Felice. Yes, exactly. So just like you telegraphed, basically. So Matt could be sitting on that table.
My life points would be a lot lower, I'll be honest.
So he got rid of that card, and that's what he's left with. So let's take another look at Ruben's hand here. He's got Mathematician, Graph, Scam, Tour Guide, Vanity's Fiend. Very monster-heavy hand. In fact, as monster-heavy as it can get. Not what he wants, and a Trap Stun, also not really something to fight back here.
This is really, really bad for Ruben, because he'll flip up his Trap Stun most likely, try to play out his hand with the special summons of his Burning Abyss monsters, and he's going to lose out to the Super Polymerization, which is like one of the most powerful cards in the Shaddoll deck. And Trap Stun won't stop that. I mean, it will stop Marcello using either the Breakthrough skill or his own Trap Stun, but...
Yeah, but Marcello might be quite happy to see the Trap Stun by his opponent getting activated here, because he's going to be like, yeah, now you're feeling secure and everything.
Now you're going to overcommit into the Super Polymerization.
Yeah, that seems like a very big opening that Marcello will have in just a second. Here is the Trap Stun that we said. Marcello checking his face down cards, trying to put his poker face on and indicating, oh, I got nothing, when in fact he has the nuts, so to speak. So what's next here? We got a special summon of Scarm and Gruff.
Yep. And this is going to be preparation for an XE summon. Marcello, all he has to do here is time his Super Polymerization correctly.
Yeah, so that does seem to be a walk in the park for the Italian. Or isn't it? Like, is there any... how could you mess it up? When is the wrong time to activate it? Let's ask it this way.
Okay, so if he did it now, both of these monsters are being special summoned. So if you did it now, you'd take away a monster, but then Ruben could carry on with a normal summon, or he could perhaps play a third Burning Abyss monster if Marcello doesn't know it. So he's got to wait until his opponent... He wants to wait until his opponent does something with those Burning Abyss monsters. Okay, he's going for it now. I guess he could wait, but if it turns into Dante, then Dante will trigger.
Yeah, does he do it before the second Malebranche of the Burning Abyss hits the field?
Well, the special summon doesn't use a chain, I don't believe, so I'm not entirely sure where the graph is right now.
Let's check that real quick. This is easier than ever thanks to the problem-solving card text. All you have to do basically is look at the card text and check if there's a bracket in the sentence with the special summoning. And Sissy says, if you control no spell trap cards, you can special summon this card from your hand. There is no such thing as a chain in that situation, so it hits the field immediately. So it seems like Marcello was acting a little bit prematurely, wasn't he?
Yeah,
and
yeah, because the monster would have been on the field up. Maybe it was just positioning, and that had gone through, but it was just the positioning of the monsters that was being questioned. But to us, it kind of looked like Ruben was waiting for the Burning Abyss monster to resolve. But, you know, maybe it's just a misunderstanding.
So Ruben now has a Razor, the Storm Monarch card that the old school players will be very familiar with. And that means that Winder, one of the two boss monsters or one of the fusion monsters that the Shaddoll deck is playing, is biting the dust, ending up in the graveyard. And yeah, none of this seems to be good news for Marcello. I think there was a better way to play this.
Yeah, he goes for Super Polymerization and Riser coming down. I mean, had he held back his Super Polymerization, he can't fuse with the Wind Monarch. Although to him, he knew his opponent had Vanity's Fiend, but he'd have been fine with his opponent summoning Vanity's Fiend because Construct is already in play at that stage. So yeah, perhaps he read the follow-up of Riser, and that's why he Super Polymerization there.
Right. So now he goes for Shaddoll Falco, bringing back a monster. And this is a good setup for Marcello, with Ruben just on 3,000 life points, which is really not a lot with these explosive decks. Or at least these decks have the opportunity to go explosive.
Yeah, I mean, the one special summon from Marcello can easily equal 2,800 damage. So that's only 200 life point shy, and that's not even using a normal summon.
So now he's putting a lot of damage on the field by using a second Shaddoll Fusion in that game. And but he's using monsters from his side of the field, so that is kind of bad for him.
It's not the most viable way of getting it, but if it gets the job done, then...
Yep, in the end of the...
Oh, we're going to see the Volcasaurus close.
Ah, there we go. We haven't seen that in a little while. So Volcasaurus card you, well, should be familiar with if you're following our coverage, because we've seen it before this weekend. Allows you to detach one material.
Here or anything else. Okay, he likes to not use the effect at all, because if Dante gets taken off the field, Graf and Dante will trigger anyway. So he'd rather not send any cards from his deck to the graveyard and risk that just yet. And also heavily committing to the field this early might not be in his interest.
Right. So here is the Mathematician. No surprise here that this is the opening for Marcello, a card that we have seen both here and in Madrid quite a lot. Big discussion was, do I run Mathematician or Armageddon Knight? Armageddon Knight has the advantage that it's a dark monster, which can sometimes be a disadvantage when your opponent sides in Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. So the Dragon taking down Trap Stun.
Okay, so here we are. We're seeing the Book of Moon flipping the Dante face down, forcing Marcello into fusing with cards on his field or in his hand. This could be huge because now Marcello suddenly thinks he's getting a free fusion, is now being forced to give up 2 cards from his hand, whittling his resources down unexpectedly. And the 2200 attack from Winder will not break through that 2500 defense. That is an excellent Book of Moon from Ruben.
Yes, and Marcello has nothing on his hand with a Shaddoll Fusion and Artifact Sanctum to well, change that anytime soon. The Dante is definitely going to do its damage here, and well, excellent play from Ruben.
Yeah, Ruben really catching Marcello off. He's saying, come on, take the bait, take the bait. Book of Moon.
Yes, it's also something that you don't expect to see because the card is not as omnipresent as it once was. It was in every single deck list, and when I was typing up deck lists, I would start one Book of Moon. Those times are like long gone by, basically.
Yeah, frequently get asked a lot by players why Book of Moon remains a limited card when a lot of other trap cards aren't. Book of Moon can end up being problematic depending on the format because it's in some cases better than trap cards because you get the best of both worlds. You can use it in your own turn, you can use it in your opponent's turn, you can drop it from your hand in the middle of the battle phase, and it's so flexible that it has in the past caused trap cards to become more and more irrelevant the more copies of Book of Moon you're allowed. And many years later, Book of Moon is still a very good card, or perhaps not as quite as impactful straight up as it once was.
And Marcello drawing 2 more cards, but none of those are going to make a difference. He has given up his normal summon for the turn. He did 1 special summon already. He can go for another Shell Fusion, but
well, he can only play 1 per turn.
There we go. Yeah, so much for that.
So yeah, we're seeing sets the Artifact Sanctum and passes. I mean, the Sanctum can answer Dante, and
so he does have some sort of defense with the Sanctum. The what did we call it earlier? The Abyss Sphere on steroids.
Yes. Oh, the Forbidden Chalice. That's a really cool card for Ruben to have because it'll allow him to answer the Artifact Sanctum.
Yeah, it's just sick. All of these answers in his deck, we've seen that before against Raphael Nevin, when he had not just the Trap Stuns, not just the Vanity's Emptiness, but also cards like Forbidden Chalice. His deck is stacked with answers, and that might be the secret ingredient that carried this Burning Abyss deck all the way to the semifinals.
We'll see how this plays out, but yeah, Marcello probably going to be tempted into going for that Artifact Sanctum to take out Dante. Graf will special summon a monster, which will be the 1 special summon per turn Ruben is allowed, if Ruben decides to use the Graf effect, of course, and Dante will add back the Graf to his hand. But then Ruben will be just left with a level 3 monster. So Marcello considers the option and decides to hold back the Artifact Sanctum.
Yeah, so Trap Stun getting sent to the graveyard, a Riser, and
there's a Skarm, Karma Cut, and Rise.
Karma Cut, it's not a Trap Stun, yep.
So the Skarm will trigger in the end phase, so that's a bonus card for Ruben, which feels pretty good because when you activate Dante's effect, in most cases you're not depending on hitting blind Malabranch monsters, Burning Abyss monsters, but if you do, that's profit.
Profit, yeah.
Or cash back, as we call it in England.
So here you go. Ruben commits more cards to the field, not that surprising, with that great backup of the Forbidden Chalice. and he can perform another Exceed summon. And Marcello, he can't really do much now, can he?
Well, he's used his normal summon and a special summon this turn, and he can only use one special summon as long as that window's in play.
No, so here comes the attack of Dante, and there's the artifact Sanctum, which
is, yeah, it's going to be outplayed by that card.
That's just so strong. So the Moraltar is going to gain 400, but its effects are going to be negated.
Yep, and while since it's still Ruben's turn, he's just probably going to ignore the Moraltar for now.
He doesn't want to trade with Dante 1-for-1 to trigger the effect of Dante, now does he?
Well, no, he could. Yeah, he does get options off a replay. He could straight up trade, but he's going to take the window out so he can free up his special summon ability again.
Right. So he normal summoned one of these Malebranche, and one of the other one was special summon. That's his one special summon for the turn. That's the restriction that Winda is putting him under, basically. And this was the attack of Dante. Then he takes out the Mathematician. So the question is Dante's effect happening at the end of the damage step or at the end of the battle phase? And it is the end of the battle phase, which means since Ruben has switched it sideways, he has indicated by that move that he wants to advance to the end of the battle phase. At least that is what...
Ah, right, okay, I see.
That's Marcello is indicating here. He says, hey, if you switch Dante to... If you turn that card sideways, bro, your chance of attacking some more...
Oh, you ended your battle phase.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, Ruben's probably misunderstood that and thought it was at the end of the attack it switches to defense mode.
Yeah, it's also not battle step, it's battle phase. So what Marcello is claiming is actually correct. This is really bad luck for Ruben. Well, not really bad luck, but it is a misplay on his side.
Yeah, it is. It's misunderstanding his card. He's indicated something else to his opponent.
And like, the question is, can you blame Marcello for trying to take advantage of this? Because I don't think so. I mean, if somebody... This is a mistake that a player has made. He switched the card sideways, and by that he indicates that this effect is triggering. And since this effect is triggering at the end of the battle phase, well, we are, by definition, at the end of the battle phase.
Yeah, I believe they're trying to resolve this with the judges, because Ruben's saying, well, obviously I wasn't anymore. I was going to attack with this. I thought it switched. And
Yes.
Marcello's saying, no, it doesn't do that, so...
Yeah, well, I gotta say, Marcello does have a point. Ruben, yeah, I think he is claiming, well, we all know that it's gonna switch sideways at the end of the battle phase. I just wanted to do it already so we don't forget about it, which is a pretty weak argument, in my opinion, but...
it will be down to the judge to decide how this situation plays out, but in this case, neither player... You can see both sides of the argument and how it could go either way, and this is part of the reasons that we have such skilled volunteers, is being able to navigate through these situations. You get asked as a judge, you get asked so many rules questions, and people prepare when they're judging. They prepare for all of the different interactions of cards, and they don't consider the interaction of the people playing or the duelist playing. And for example, this situation right here is what we call a player management situation.
Yes.
So if you're a judge watching this, you can probably take notes from this and learn. Okay, so
Interestingly enough,
the judge there has decided to allow Ruben to continue the attack, despite him turning a Dante, which would have signaled the end of the battle, phase.
Well, it also seems something else to keep in mind, that Marcello did not appeal the ruling of the judge, which means that he didn't make use of his chance to talk to the head judge of the event, who will then make a final ruling. So if you're not happy with the ruling that the judge has given you, and, well, if I were Marcello in that situation, I guess I would have done that, to be honest. You can just call over the head judge, and the head judge will make a final ruling.
I can't hold it against him for calling the judge on that one. When it's this far into the tournament, you expect your opponent to understand how their cards work.
Yep.
But at the same time, I can totally understand Ruben saying, "Oh, come on, you knew this was gonna happen."
Yeah, like if this happens at your kitchen table, there's no question about it.
Yeah, you're gonna let your friend fix the issue.
You're gonna be like, yeah, whatever. But if you are at the semi-finals of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Championship Series, possibly the largest of the year, you can, well, become famous in your own right and become a YCS winner. You don't wanna give your opponent this opening. Like, if you have a chance to get an easy win, you take the easy win. That's how it works.
Yeah, and a couple of people may ask for the, say, perhaps Barbera was rule sharking, although I really don't believe in this situation he is. He's saying my opponent has indicated the end of the battle phase because he's activating a certain effect. It's different from trying to use a penalty or something and assign it to an opponent's action. But, you know,
Yeah.
these are situations as you're judging you get familiar with and learn how to deal with them and resolve them so the game can continue.
Yeah. As long as your intent is not to get a warning for your opponent, everything should be fine in calling a judge in these situations.
Yeah.
And, well, yeah, there's a discussion on the Twitch chat about that, if that is rule sharking or not. And I wouldn't say that as rule sharking, to be honest.
Barberi, I believe, was fully within his right to notify a judge in that situation and say, well, this happens at the end of the battle phase, he's done this.
Yes, and I agree with that. Well, anyway, it's Marcello's turn now. He did draw a card for his mathematician that got destroyed in battle. He did draw a second copy of mathematician. He also got a super polymerization, shuttle fusion, hedgehog, and dragon in his hand, so plenty of options here. And
yeah, he can move past this.
Yeah, and he has already activated one shuttle fusion. The important thing is to not be too upset with what happened right here. Like, don't be beating yourself up and thinking, I would have won this game if the judge just ruled in my favor. You just have to keep your calm, focus on the moment, and make the most of it.
Yeah. So he's just going to keep his cool, carry on. He's playing a Shaddoll Fusion. He's sending one Shaddoll Beast. He's debating on the second card that he's going to send. It looks like he's hovering the Hedgehog. There's the Hedgehog. Yep. And he's committing to a El Shaddoll Winder. The Winder is not going to be able to destroy either of the Downward Magicians, because the Downward Magicians gain 200 attack for each XE material they have. But he now does control 2 level 5 monsters should he decide to go for the Volcasaurus play.
Yeah, that will be one option. And yesterday we have also seen some other level 5, rank 5 monsters that have been making some noise, haven't we?
Constellar Pleiades, however, that requires 2 level 5 light monsters, so we won't be seeing that.
What's with Armadus? I took a note of Armadus, but
it's this level 5 Synchro light monster.
No, it's yeah, Synchro. So we go.
All right.
Yes, that was in the very first round, a long time ago. So Marcello is now sitting in an interesting position with Artifact Moraltar and El Shaddoll Winder on the field, and here again is his hand.
Let's see if he's got any. He's got Artifact Durandal also in his extra deck as a potential option to go to. Yeah, it's Durandal or Volcasaurus if he decides to use that chain. He has a bunch of cards in his hand. So he's got a whole bunch of different plays he could consider. The Dino Magicians are both dark monsters, so a super polymerization will not allow Marcello to get a construct in any way off of that, well, off of his opponent's monsters. However, he could use his own construct and his own Moraltac to make a construct if he wanted, but he's going to go into the Volcasaurus.
Again, yeah. This card is really proving key here for Marcello, and we haven't seen that that often this weekend, now have we?
Volcasaurus?
I don't think. And like this is like the 3rd or 4th time only that I've seen the card.
Yeah, it's one of those. In very specific situations, it's extremely good cards. Whenever you find a window for it, there's a good chance that you want to go for it. But you see what happens here from Volcasaurus, destroying the Dino Magician. It's going to trigger everything underneath it because they're all Burning Abyss monsters.
Yes. So Dante triggers, and what else did we have under that?
We had a Sir and a Skarm, I believe, and Dante himself.
So it looks like Ruben hasn't lost anything apart from some life points.
Yeah, he took a chunk out by the Volcasaurus, and the Volcasaurus can still attack. The only restriction is it can't attack directly, although we're most likely going to see that upgraded into a Gaia Charger, because the Gaia Charger will then have enough attack to take out something like Dante here.
Yeah, Marcello needs to find something to, well, dismantle his opponent's field, or at least like reduce the number, those 2 monsters. He doesn't want to stare down this somewhat threatening field for much longer.
Yeah, Marcello hasn't used his normal summon for the turn because if we remember, he started with the morale attack and he also started with the window.
Yeah.
So here's his one normal summon. He considers.
That's
Does he do it? Yep.
Yeah. Shaddoll Falco.
Yep. And super polymerization. Yep.
There we go.
Discarding a regular Shaddoll fusion.
That is interesting, isn't it? I mean, he's still got one more copy in hand, so he's feeling confident that he's not going to activate 3 of them in this game. And he's using his opponent's Dante.
Yeah.
Together with his own Falco.
And he gets a construct, and he sends the Shaddoll core to the graveyard to add back the fusion that he discarded.
So he didn't really lose anything here. Seemed like a very good choice. And this is his new hand after all of these effects have resolved. And this is his field with Volcasaurus, Super Polymerization, Shaddoll Falco, and El Shaddoll Construct. Now the Construct, rather the Gaia Charger. So he replaced the Volcasaurus with the Gaia Charger, attacking over the Downward Magician, and attack with the Construct followed, because this way he can do more damage.
Yep. Ruben is going to accumulate quite a few cards off of these Dante triggers, so he's going to be able to. He has one of each Burning Abyss monster in his hand. Let's see how he gets through this. And 2 cards being added to the Spell and Trap zone. Chain Disappearance and Shaddoll Fusion. And Chain Disappearance is so good against this deck. We might see it flip against the Tour Guide, or perhaps we'll see it if a Dante is summoned.
Right, so there is the Tour Guide. That
it's added to his hand from the effective Scarm. It's the end
exactly,
phase.
Yes. But there's a very good chance that this is going to be Ruben's next summon here. And he's got a Vanity's Emptiness. But the problem is his opponent already assembled his field. So
too little, too late.
Exactly. So Ruben is not sitting in a very good position here. He can go for the Tour Guide, but even so, well, the problem with Tour Guide is, like we said, there's a Chain Disappearance on the other side of the field, face down.
Yep, and then he'll be forced to make some kind of play by special summoning his monsters. The Gaia Charger is piercing, so it's going to make it quite difficult for him to just set a monster and try and wait through a turn.
Yeah, it's the Gaia Dragon for you guys.
Yeah. This was really popular when Volcasaurus first came out in the Premium Collection tin, quite a long time ago, actually. And Gaia was very big in the wind-up format when you could do it with Wind-Up Magician, Wind-Up Shark, then summon Volcasaurus through various combos, and you had Gaia Charger to add more to that.
So Ruben is not going for the Tour Guide plan. Maybe a read, but I don't think he's going to expect a card from the side deck being introduced here.
Well, he may have special summoned that Sir. I didn't see how it got put into play. If he special summoned the Sir, then he could still use his normal summon later on. He's hovering what appears to be a wind-up Zen Mines.
A card that we haven't seen in quite a while. There is the next special summon. He's still acting like these special summons are using the chain by putting them first on the field and then moving them upwards.
Yeah, it's a little bit misleading. I don't think it's intentional.
No, I don't think that at all.
Because his opponent could still use Solemn Warning, so he has to give his opponent an opportunity to.
Maybe that is what he's trying to indicate here. Yeah, that's a chance. So now he has access to all those powerful rank 3 Exceed monsters in his extra deck. And he's got a few, like we just pointed out, the Zen Mains, of course, the Dante. He's also running 3 copies of Dante. And Ghost Trick Alucard that can deal with face-down cards on the field.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he decides to do this.
Right, we just received word that the other semi-final has concluded, and Dominik Borowski from Austria has advanced to the finals. Congratulations on that. Sascha Fabian out of the competition, went very, very far, but in the end, Dominik Borowski proved to be too much of an obstacle.
And there are no UK players left in the YCS competition.
Yeah. I'm so used to that, I don't even point it out anymore.
Oh, you win a World Cup and you're just full of confidence now, aren't you?
Well, also no German players remaining, so I should be the one to be talking here.
No, Austria, they speak German, don't they? So it's basically a win for you guys.
In a way, yeah. It's very interesting when, for example, when the football games are happening, sometimes the Austrians are like, oh, we're having such a strong rivalry with Germany. And I also asked all of my German friends, hey, do you feel the same way? And they're always like, no, we don't take Austrians seriously. And I was feeling the exact same way. I was like, oh, so they have a rivalry. That's interesting because I don't know about that rivalry. But so all my Austrian friends are gone now. There is the chain disappearance for the tour guide.
Yep.
Oh no, it wasn't for the tour guide. It was for the
Graph.
Graph, yes. Oh, that's even better than for the tour guide, isn't it?
Yeah. In this case, it takes out the 3 graphs. I mean, there was only 1 left in the deck. It's just Ruben is just in a really horrible position. There's nothing he can really do with these remaining cards.
I mean, he's just summoned 2 monsters, and he does have a Vanity's Emptiness to stop his opponent from summoning any more monsters, but you have to keep in mind his Ghost Trick Alucard. It just has 1,800 attack, so it's anything but a beat stick. Whereas his opponent, Marcello, is controlling a construct with 2,800 attack. On top of that, it can attack whatever it wants, and it just destroys it. And a Gaia Dragon with 2,800 attack as well. So Marcello is sitting in a very, very good position here.
Yeah, you can take a look. He's got his hand on his chin because he's just trying to respond, but he knows it's
he goes for a fusion, but that's the Vanity's Emptiness. And you can tell by Marcello leaning forward, immediately doing the calculations, how much life points do I have to reduce? And you can tell he's looking at his cards, pointing at the attack of Gaia Dragon with 2,600. But I don't think he can finish the game just now.
The question is, well, he's got a tour guide there that was normal summoned, right? That's the card that's in play. So yeah,
yes.
The construct would actually inflict 1,800 points of damage when attacking it. Something with construct is you can block it with special summon monsters and not take damage because its effect activates as soon as it attacks something. That was special summon.
Right.
So that should be 1,800 plus the damage from Gaia Charger.
That is a 2,800 over the 1,800 of Ghost Trick Alucard. That means that's another 800. And that should be enough.
That should be enough. Unless
Marcello is also indicating that by, what are we waiting for? Look at my score pad. Well, there is a chance that there's a misunderstanding about the life points of both players, but I don't think that is the case here.
Okay,
so
yeah, he's showing him the math, which is
1,000 here. That is.
It's a little bit less than 1,800 because it's 26 versus 1,800.
Right, and then
1,800 there.
Yeah, 1,800 left, but that is exactly 1,800 would be exactly what the Shaddoll construct would be doing, attacking over a tour guide. So now it seems like the judges have to get involved. Yes.
There's a dispute in life.
Exactly.
Points.
So what I guessed, both players are not 100% on the same page here. So now we have to see what exactly the official life points are.
Yeah, well, I'm going to trust the guys standing behind that have been doing the life points as the app goes along, but I imagine this will be explained to the players and they'll come to the conclusion. Unless something's missed.
They have agreed on Marcello winning the match and advancing to the finals. Congratulations to Marcello Barberi from Italy, luckiest player at YCS London 2014.
Yep.